don't know you at all. I wish that you would call me right now, so that I could get through to you somehow. But I guess it's safe to say, that I officially missing you. Can't nobody do it like you. Said every little thing you do. Hey baby, say it stays on my mind. And I'm officially, well, I thought I could just get over you, baby. But I see there's something I just can't do. From the way you would hold me to the sweet things you told me, I just can't find a way to let go of you. Can't nobody do it like you. Said every little thing you do. Hey baby, say it stays on my mind. And I'm officially, it's official. Oh, you know that I'm missing you, yeah. All I hear is raindrops, oh yeah. And I'm officially missing you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists' second installment of our Health and Wellness Conversation Series. Today's event is a mental health check-in, which will be presented by an esteemed panelist and a conversation moderated by long-term PABJ member, Dawn Angelique Roberts. My name is F.A.I.T.H. I am PABJ's Vice President of Print and the PR Council Chair. These events and this conversation series was spearheaded by the PABJ Council and Dawn Angelique Roberts, who created the Healthy PABJ initiative. Before we get started today and begin the conversation, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. Please make sure that your video and phones, if possible, are on mute. Put a question in the chat box if you have a question, comment, or concern. Raise your hand and we'll definitely try to get around to you. And lastly, share. Hashtag Healthy PABJ. Feel free to reshare the link. Tell your friends to join and get your questions ready. So now I am going to introduce to you our moderator for today, PABJ member, PABJ chair member, Dawn Angelique Roberts, a woman who wears so many hats. If you all were a part of our last conversation, you would have heard her share a bit of her story and why she is so dedicated to promoting healthy lifestyles. Dawn is an energetic, detail-oriented team player and award-winning communications professional with over 25 years of experience in journalism, media relations, sports marketing, and event management. As an advocate for heart health, she was recognized recently as a heart champion by the American Heart Association. and she was awarded the 2021 Women of Impact Award from the Heart Association of Pennsylvania for her work in the community. Dawn has been diligently sharing her personal story about her heart health troubles and her recovery. And what this conversation today is going to focus on is our mental health and how that also can impact our physical health as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce longtime PABJ member, Dawn Angelique Roberts. Again, thank you all for joining us for this very necessary conversation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thea, thank you for that warm welcome. Everyone, before I briefly introduce our guest speakers, I would like to share something on the screen here at this time. There we are.
We bring in a friend who we've known for years and years and years. He's an author, relationship therapist, Dr. Argie Allen-Wilson.
Some expert advice on how we can all talk to them. Joining us now is relationship expert, Dr. Argie Allen-Wilson. She's the author of Courageous Conversations Connect. Good morning, Argie.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Janelle. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And as we mentioned, a lot of people just dealing with anxiety during all of this. What are your suggestions?
Some of the things that we need to remember is that this is temporary. This is temporary inconvenience for long-term gain. And as long as we stay healthy, Janelle, then everything else is recoverable.
To your children about what's happening right now, what are the best ways to do that?
There's some do's and don'ts, right? So you want to tell them that you're going to be here. We're going to be okay. Kids want to know that they're secure and they're safe. So predictability, structure, and consistency. You also want to let them know you have a plan. And even if you don't have a plan, tell them that you're working on one, right?
All right, we have one more.
We making it happen. We back, and it's black on black.
Welcome to Leapcast. I'm your host, Dr. George James. LEAP stands for Leaders, Entertainers, Athletes, and Performers. And I'm on a journey to connect with high achievers and highlight their unexamined human moments. Tune in to learn how these high-achieving LEAP individuals. Welcome to Leapcast. I'm your host, Dr. George James. LEAP stands for Leaders, Entertainers, Athletes, and Performers. And I'm on a journey to connect with high achievers and highlight their unexamined human moments. Tune in to learn how these high-achieving LEAP individuals were able to reach their greatest potential, face their most difficult challenges, and embrace the human moments that helped them along the way. If you want to get the episode highlights directly in your email, then head to theleapcast.com right now to subscribe.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Teresa and team in the background. Everyone, I'm excited. I hope all of you are excited. Let's just give our presenters a round of applause in advance. Yes. I'm excited. And I want to thank our presenters, Dr. Argie, Dr. James. As I mentioned and read their bios briefly, I say briefly because I'm going to have them give some more information about their backgrounds And then I'm going to also have them tell us, like, for example, Dr. Argie, as after I read your bio, I'm just giving you an advanced preview, everyone. I want her to share, why did she become a relationship therapist, a mental health and relationship therapist? Why did Dr. James become a therapist? I think that would be interesting for us all to know. So Dr. Argie, with over 20 years experience as an author, mental health and relationship therapist, Dr. Argie Allen-Wilson is the former director of clinical training at Drexel University's Couple and Family Therapy Department and the founder and CEO of her private practice, F.A.I.T.H Connects, LLC. That's Family and Individual Therapeutic Healing. Co-founder of Connections Matter, LLC, and co-founder of a nonprofit, Mental Health First Connects, along with her husband. Dr. Allen-Wilson recently published her first book. I really wanted to say this because I want everyone, and we'll speak later, everyone, offline about her book, Courageous Conversations Connect, a pathway to reset your mindset with intentional thoughts from the inside out. And I'm sure we can do a book signing at some point. Would you say, Dr. Argie, would you like that? Okay, all right, let's look at doing something like that. And Dr. Allen-Wilson is a national television and radio personality, as you all noticed from the beginning there. You may have seen her on some of the Today Show major segments, and she is a frequent guest in the fourth hour with Hoda and Jenna of the Today Show, Mel Robbins Show, Tamron Hall, MSNBC, CNN, and we can go on and on, right? And I will say, since it's local, and Good Day, Philadelphia on Fox News. And let's move on to Dr. James. Dr. James is the Chief Innovation Officer, Senior Staff Therapist, and AAMFT approved supervisor. He'll tell us more about that at Council for Relationships. In addition, he is an assistant professor for the Couple and Family Therapy Program at Thomas Jefferson University. Dr. James is president and CEO of George Talks LLC, a communication and consulting company. He has spoken and consulted with multiple businesses, media production companies, organizations, universities, and places of faith. Dr. James has been a recurring expert guest on radio, television, and online programs, including the Today Show. So we're in good company, everyone. CNBC, Nickelodeon, Good Day LA, Good Day Philadelphia, iHeartRadio, and I know I can go on and on. Dr. James attended Villanova University as a presidential scholar. He met his wife, Candace. They are parents to their creative daughter, Nalani, and cheerful son, Alexander. Again, everyone, please welcome our awesome, amazing guests. All right. And I say guests, I want to say friends. We're going to claim them as friends. Yes, definitely. Especially, I want to encourage everyone, as I mentioned earlier in reading their official bios, I want to encourage everyone after this call to connect with them. They have donated their time with us. And this is part one of the conversation. And we're hopeful that Dr. James and Dr. Argie will join us again on April 6th. I'm going to ask everyone to save the date. April 6th is part 2 of our check-in. This is part 1, everyone. So we're going to give you some homework. So definitely save the date. All right, without further ado, you heard the question, everyone, earlier, but I'm going to read it again officially. I want to ask, I'll start with Dr. Argie, with ladies first. I'm going to ask Dr. Argie to please feel free to mention something I missed from the bio, because her bio is pretty amazing. Of course, you all can imagine. And we would be here all day if I read it. Read it all, but I want her to share something that she's proud of. It could be something funny, it could be something inspirational, something extra motivation. And with her sharing that, please share, why did you become a mental health and relationship therapist? Thank you, Dr. Argie.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And of course, it's always good to be on with my friend George. We go way back, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We've been in spaces where we've been educated together, and we've toiled together in this work, I believe is a calling. And so to answer the question, why did I become a relationship therapist? I think it delves into, quite frankly, a funny story that I'll try to keep short, which is one of what I would consider to be one of my most memorable moments of my life. For those of you who know me, you may have heard the story before, but in 5th grade, I received the Humanitarian Award. And out of all of the degrees that I've gotten and all of the awards that I've gotten, that still holds as the most important award that I've ever received in my life. And why do I say that? I believe that oftentimes we as humans are we lean into our profession based on who we are organically. And back when I was a little girl, I think I was being poised to be a therapist even then. Because while other kids were playing, I was asking questions like, well, why are the kids in my mind, my little brain, so bad? Like, why do they act out? And I asked my teacher, Mr. Pizzo, why that was. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I think because they need breakfast, right? So he's like, well, then why don't you invite, because my mother said, by the way, breakfast was the most important meal of the day. So I thought these little boys needed breakfast. So long story short, we conspired to for me to invite them to breakfast, and we all ate together. That then moved into them protecting me because I was bullied as a kid. So they walked me home from school. Then I invited them in to do homework. Long story short, we ended up having a lifelong relationship, me and these two little boys who grew up to be men. And by the time my parents came home, they were like, well, what are these little boys doing in my house? And I'm like, oh, they're my friends. We have breakfast in the morning. We do our lunch together. We have dinner. Then they invited them for dinner. Long story short, I became a therapist before I even knew what the word meant. And I ended up meeting their families and we became friends. And so I say that to say that for our young people that you may be connected to, our listeners today, never discount the gift that they have deposited inside of them to then flourish and then be a gift to the world. In therapy, Dr. James and I know that we hear some traumatic stories. And you can't do this work if you're not really, really passionate about it, because it's not easy work. And especially in the midst of a pandemic, for 2 years in, we have found that the suicidal rates and the depression rates and the anxiety rates have skyrocketed, especially for people in Black and Brown communities that have been disproportionately impacted. And so I do this work because it's a passion and a love of mine. And I wouldn't find myself wanting to do anything else. So that is my story that probably many people don't know.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. James, now your turn.
Well, first of all, Dawn, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you, PABJ, for the opportunity to be here. I have lots of fond memories and thoughts about PABJ and some good friends that are a part of PABJ. And always a pleasure to be in the same place and same platform as Dr. Argie. As she said, we go way, way back, especially, from our training and education. So when I think about like how or even why did I get into this work in this field, I always start off in a similar way, but that I was maybe trained, embedded, groomed, some of these ways of how to be a therapist. And it always starts for me with my parents. When I think about my Jamaican parents who came from Jamaica to the US and loved people, cared about people, just gave their time, energy, sometimes their last dollar to people, would just be there and support and counsel folks, even without the title of therapist. I saw it. And it was a part of my life. And even though I thought I was going to go down the path of being a medical doctor, I soon realized that that wasn't the fit for me. It didn't feel right. It wasn't organic. It wasn't a good fit. And I'm grateful that I had a support network that allowed me to pivot and to find that direction. And once I found the direction and found my calling as being a therapist, it was nonstop after that, right? I recognized that that's where I needed to be to help and support people, to listen and to care, and to be able to provide support in so many different ways. I love what I do and the diversity of how I can do it and how I can show up for other people. And it's just made me a better person. It's made me a better man, a better father, a better husband along the way. So I'm really, really grateful. And to the second part of that question, if there's one thing I wanted to say that I've really gained out of my work that maybe wasn't fully shared is I love being able to work with media companies behind scenes and on screen and behind scenes. So like some of the work of being able to review scripts, to talk through what the content is really going to come out, to really emphasize mental health, really talk about relationships, family, different dynamics, racial things has been tremendous for me throughout my career. And just knowing that our voice can make an impact for so many others is so important. And I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great feedback, everyone. I can go on and on, of course, with all the questions. And one of the things we talked about earlier, Dr. James and Dr. Argie and I, we want to encourage all of you viewing. We don't want you just to listen to us. Please type in the chat if you have a question, and I'll make sure that I ask it, because I have a bunch of questions in front of me, but I'm going to ask at least 2 more. But please, everyone, I know I'm looking at your faces there, and some of you have asked me, and I even have some questions from others that may not be able to share their questions. So I may even have that to share as well. So another question I have for you. So everyone did have a chance to see the sizzle reel at the beginning. I was trying to surprise everyone, so that's why I didn't quite say sizzle reel at the beginning. But you see that both Dr. Argie and Dr. James are in the limelight quite a bit. And so my question for them, how do you balance all of this? How do you balance your lifestyle with work, family, COVID, stress? And I mention that because, as you both are aware, Dr. James mentioned earlier in terms of his background with PABJ, and then Dr. Argie knows a lot about a lot of our members as well from being interviewed by all of us. So I know they're wondering, how can I get this done? They have people like me sending in press releases, asking for coverage, and they have, I know, as Cheryl looking at on the screen here, I see her, she has amazing experience in TV, talking about deadlines like this, so tell us, how do you balance all of this? I think this would be definitely helpful, because when we talk about all of the balancing, everyone, it's very stressful and it impacts our mental health. So I'll get Dr. James to start. Oh, Dr. Argie started, she took her sound on first, so she can go first.
It was already off, but so I think that balance is elusive to all of us, and self-care is key. And if you love what you do, then you're gonna be charged with doing more of it, right? Dr. James and I talk about this being a calling that we were drawn to. And so people are gonna see it, they're gonna catch the energy, the law of attraction, and it's gonna scale you to do more of what you do, whether it's in journalism or in therapy or whatever your calling is. Now, the challenge with that is this whole elusive work-life balance. How do we do the work that we do in a fashion that is integral about who we connect with on a daily basis, as well as scaling to on a larger platform or other platforms? And one of the things that I would say is that if you're not healthy, mind, body, and spirit, right? If you're not leaning into all the things that help you to show up as your best version of yourself, then you're gonna eventually become resentful. Some of us have jobs, some of us have careers. My belief is that we should be having fun doing the work that we're called to do every day. So there is a great philosopher, this is meant to be a funny, named Usher. And Usher, in a show that I was watching one day, said that your heart's work is never hard work. That as long as you do the work in your heart, although you may be tired, it's never going to be hard. So figuring out how to balance yourself, and today, leaning into our self-care, I believe, is a radical act of leaning into ourselves. It's a radical act of care. And it cannot be understated that there are multiple things that we can do to care for ourselves and prioritize ourselves before we move into the world of work, whatever we're doing. And then the last thing I'll say, and then hop in, is balance and boundaries. We can't I believe that oftentimes we say yes out of fear versus no out of love. So we're saying yes to everything, right? And not saying, let me get back to you, because it might be good work that you could be doing, but is it good work for you? or is that for someone else? And so being careful about the things that you say yes to and what you need to say no to, because maybe that doesn't fit and it's not aligned with your mission, it's not aligned with your brand, because I guarantee you, if you're putting good work out there, it's going to come back to you, and then you have to be discerning about how you balance what it is that you do. That's all I need to say about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You know, you're gonna probably everyone will recognize by the end of this time that whatever I say or whatever Dr. Argie says, it is going to be very much well aligned, and because we come from a very similar track of belief in how we do this work. And you know, when I think about how do I do it all, the first part I'm going to say is God, right? Like, so I believe that God has allowed so many opportunities to come my way. I've been able to attract some opportunities, not even because of like who I am or how handsome I might be or my wonderful smile. Sometimes it's just because I happen to be at the right place at the right time, and God opened that door for me. So that's my first. Two, I've realized that along the way, what self-care and means for me, and what balance means. Someone, a mentor of mine, a pastor that I was connected to, shared that balance is not really 50-50. Balance is not static. It's not like this. It is always kind of in motion. And so I've learned that things are in motion. And if I know in my mind that some things are going to get off my plate and then I'm going to move to the next thing, then that's fine. And as long as I'm also doing the things that are healthy for me and my family in the midst of that, then I can balance. But the biggest thing that I've learned along the way is that I need a break. I love what I do. And anytime I say to people, like, I'm one of the best therapists you're going to have after my vacation, right? And you want to have a breakthrough, get me after I get off of my vacation. If it's right before, you might need to switch therapists, because I might be so tapped out, ready to go. I might not be on my best game. And so I learned that I'm either going to have a half day, a full day, a getaway, a vacation, something lined up. And I don't know about anybody else, but I realized for me, I had to switch that up with COVID, because I had a routine of how I took care of myself, how I took breaks. And when COVID hit, especially the shutdown, I went hard and I was doing even more. And I wasn't able to do the same breaks. I wasn't getting on planes like that. So I had to switch it up to figure out what was my new rhythm to take care of myself. And then I found it, and then I locked in. So sometimes we got to switch what our methods might be and figure out the way to take care of ourselves. And once you find it, lock in and go after it.
I agree. I'm so glad that both of you had a chance to go away this past weekend. That was great. From speaking with both of you. So with everything that you've shared, and again, keeping in mind with all of our listeners, we have, matter of fact, if you can help me out, everyone, please let us know in the chat who's all with us. I know I see a number of journalists in the room, but please let us know if there are other professions. Are there PR practitioners, communications professionals, teachers, attorneys, who else is in there with us? We're just curious. So that we can kind of speak to everyone more. So again, in terms of all of our busyness here, how important, and I know Dr. Argie touched on it earlier, and I love the example you gave as a young child. I truly believe that breakfast is the most important part of the day. I speak with people sometimes, fellow journalists, fellow communicators, and they say they didn't eat breakfast. I'm like, oh, go back, get your breakfast and come back. So I definitely believe that you have to have your water. I don't know if you can see with the screen here, have your water, your daily water, and your breakfast. So how important would you say is diet and exercise? And as I preface that, I want you definitely to tell me about the diet part. Dr. James and I had a chuckle the other day. I was telling him an example about my son. I learned early on that sugar is not our friend. So please tell me, you talk about just working with different clients and just looking at your personal side, how important is the diet? Not so much the skipping of meals, of course that's important, but what you put into your body, how is that important in terms of your mental state on a daily?
There's I'll jump in real quick. There's a relationship there, obviously, between what we do with our physical and our mental. And just the other day, I did a segment. I think Dr. Argie and I both love Miss Patty Jackson and are on her show on a regular routine. And, my most recent segment I did with her was about the combination of mental and physical, because if your body goes down, you're going to be anxious and depressed. If you're having some medical concerns, it's going to lead to some other mental health concerns as well. And so when I think about the long days I have, endurance, food is fuel. And the right food can give you the better fuel. And sometimes we don't always use the right fuel, the right food, the right diet for us, especially those long days. And I know all of you, especially in this field, you have long hours, you have random things you have breaking news, you have copy that you have to develop right in the moment. Sometimes you can just push, and before you know it, hours go by. But what we do and how we feed ourselves and fuel ourselves is so important. And Dawn, the last part, I'll say this, when you mentioned about your son, I think that's the other part, is our family and those that we're connected to, is that we might feel like maybe we're doing a decent job with ourselves, but if our children or family members are off, that also adds stress to us and our work life and the things that we need to do. So I think it's not only the fuel and diet that we think about for ourselves and our physical health, but also those that we love and care about, because if they are off, it also impacts us.
Thank you, Dr. James. Dr. Argie?
Yeah, again, agreed, 1,000%. Our health is our wealth. And so when we think about what we eat, we are what we eat, right? And it's important to prioritize that. I want our listeners to think about the 3 E's. First, we have to make sure that we educate. Then we have to make sure that we eat, right? Eat well, hydrate your body. Your body needs water. It needs good food. If you have to snack, try it. And, Dr. James knows that we try to keep nuts and good healthy snacks, because if you don't and your stress gets elevated, then you're going to want to go for the sugary stuff and the salty stuff. Think about when you're at the highest level of stress. You don't go for the healthy, like I'm going to have a bite of broccoli. You're going to go for like the sweet and the salty. And so just eating better overall is going to help your brain health. It's going to help your movement. And then, of course, speaking of movement, you want to think about exercise, right? So educate, eat well, and exercise. We got to move our bodies. And we're going to do a meditation a little bit later, but I ask people to book in their day with 5 things, right? And it's 5 minutes that you can do this. Book in your day with mindfulness, meditation, movement, meaningful engagement, and music. 5 things, 5 minutes, those 5 things. Everybody can think about a meditation, just being still and being present. Everybody can think about maybe a mantra that you can use as your meditation, right? Everybody can do some stretching and some exercises, which we're going to do a little bit later. And whatever meaningful engagement, if that's kissing your spouse, if it's hugging your kids, if it's a nice little text to someone, some kind of meaningful engagement that gets your cortisol levels, not your cortisol, I'm sorry, your serotonin and your dopamine and your endorphins, all those good hormones, and decreases your cortisol and your adrenaline, then that's great. And then music is healing for everyone. If you can just do those things, that helps with your biochemistry and your parasympathetic nervous system, and it sort of equals things out, gives you the foundation, and as Dr. James said, the fuel for the day.
Yes, I agree. 5 things. Awesome. It's 5, everyone. Yes, I love it. I have some questions in the chat. I have one question in the chat, but just to kind of let Dr. Argie and Dr. James know who's with us today. Let's see. We have a community organizer. We have a life coach, a PR professional. We have a sports reporter, author, business owner. One thing I see in here, everyone, business and career coach. I see people wearing a number of hats here. So I think that everything that you share will be truly helpful here. And that's a comment, definitely. Self-care is not selfish. Love that. So we have a question here. I see a sports reporter and PR practitioner here. Welcome all. That's Cheryl in there. Would love to see who else is here. Anyone stressed out by a job hunt, for example? So Just something I would share there in terms of Dr. Argie and Dr. James. I know you speak to different professionals. Any advice you would give or a tip that's someone going through the job hunt? I know it ties in with the mental stress, but would you give any advice with that in particular?
I would say with the job hunt. So now, since we've been in a pandemic for 2 years, we have what people are calling the Great Resignation. People are leaving their jobs. I think that there's been a silver lining in all of this, if we could call it that, because so many lives have been lost and families have been impacted by this COVID-19 virus. And then add to that, you know, the virus of systemic racism and Floyd. And so there's just been an elevated level of stress. And what has happened is people have had to evaluate how they were living their lives. And they begin to think about, well, was it as good as I thought it was? And could it potentially be better? Who am I in relationship with? Who adds to my life? Who subtracts from my life? What ways do I spend my time that are a benefit to me and therefore a benefit to others or not? And so what has happened is that the job that people are doing, people have realized this is not what I want to be doing. This doesn't help me feel like I'm the best version of myself. I don't feel like I'm leaning into my true gifts, or I have transferable gifts. So what I would say is that if people are trying to make that transition to another job, or they're trying to make a transition maybe to becoming entrepreneurs, talk to other people, one, that have done it successfully. That's what I've done my whole life. I've looked at other people that are doing what I think I want to do, and I've leaned into seeing whether or not they can offer me support, because I think that we got to pay it forward. And people are often willing to help and share their journey if you're willing to listen. The other thing I say about job hunt is you got to make it fun. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like fun and it feels really anxiety provoking because you're putting yourself out there, but list all of the qualities and the skill sets that you have that you think can be transferable, and then be in competition, not with other people, be in competition with yourself. Because at the end of the day, we're probably sometimes our worst enemy, because before we ever get out of bed, we're already telling ourselves negative messaging, right? So we don't need the world to tell us that, because we're already sharing that. So giving yourself positive affirmation, positive energy, and then enjoying the process. Because I like to say that we can turn pain into power when we appreciate the process. And we can use that metaphor for anything, including a job search.
Great advice. Oh, Dr. James, before you add, I know we talked about jobs. Let me add to it, because based on everyone in the room here, we have a video professional that joined us, photographer and student. So we're mentioning jobs. Let's even add, because I know with your experience, Dr. James and Dr. Argie, consulting opportunities. So some of these folks in our room, they may not want a typical 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. They may be looking for contracts and partnerships. Any advice that the two of you would give in terms of, again, just tying all of them as we talk about our topic in terms of mental health, just making sure that people are realizing that as they're doing that consulting search?
Yeah, I'm gonna, even just double down on what Dr. Argie mentioned, right? Is that this is a great time and has been a great time of evaluation. But it's important that we're doing the evaluation with the clearest mindset that we can have, right? If you're evaluating yourself from a negative perspective, you're only going to see your flaws. You're only going to see the things that you can't do, and you're going to see those contracts or those opportunities as something that can't happen, or even more specifically, can't happen for you. And when we think about social media, when we think about other things, we start to say it can happen for everybody else, but for some reason it can't happen for us. We put all these negative things in front of us, but if we can not only see ourselves in the truest way, right? See ourselves the way God sees you, see yourself the way your family sees you, see yourself the way your partner sees you. If you can see yourself in a positive way, then you can say, well, you know what? Maybe this opportunity is for me. Maybe there is a way that I can go after it. Or maybe I can make the best of the current situation. Because some of the times we're trying to leave because we don't think that the situation is going to get any better. But you probably have more say and more control in your current situation. So first, evaluate that. Then if you say you want that next contract or opportunity, Once again, who are you talking to? Who are you partnering with? How are you assessing your skills? Have you made the blueprint? Have you made the vision for you and what you want to do? I'm a big proponent for being able to say, this is the stuff that I'm going after. These are the goals that I'm working on. And then by step, trying to get there. And if there's obstacles, which is the hardest thing, because I've been rejected, I've been shut down, I've heard no a few times more than I want to, but it's what do you then say to yourself to say, I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep going. And at the end of the day, who is encouraging you? I love when people have told me, and I've embraced this in my life, that you are the average of your 5 closest friends. Who are those people who are in your squad? Who are those people who are around you? Because if you're not paying attention to it, that can impact if you decide to go after this opportunity, this job, this contract, or if you decide to say no to it internally. So that's my encouragement. Look at the people surrounding you, look at the advice, pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, make the vision, go after it, and believe, even when it feels like it's not happening. Keep believing, because that makes a difference.
All right, excellent advice. Keep believing, everyone. Keep pressing. Now, I want to remind everyone, if you have some questions, please drop them in the chat. And I have a question from one of our members that gave me this early. I just wanted to make sure I had some backups here. I didn't want to monopolize all the time. So switching gears just a little bit from the career aspect. Just something that Dr. Argie mentioned earlier in terms of COVID and just the isolation and the interview that you did recently with CBS 3. It was a young man that was sharing his experience that we all are experiencing. I can't believe that, is this year 2 or year 3? I'm lost count now. But I actually left the office and thought I'll be back in 2 weeks. I haven't been back in the office. And a number of us are experiencing that. So as the young man mentioned, he was a social butterfly. You know, a number of people are saying, I was out there and now I'm home. And if you're not married, thank God I'm married and I have a son. And so I have, you know, I guess something to sidetrack you from the work world. But if you're by yourself, you know, that can be really something. So just thinking of all of that. So the question here is, what are some steps a person should take from PTSD experiences? So, we were talking about COVID, but this is even beyond COVID, just in terms of post-traumatic stress. Any tips you want to share? Dr. Argie, you want to go? Oh, Dr. James, pardon me.
Sorry, I wanted to just quickly say, first, this is where I think the relationships with PABJ comes in. That particular segment that you're talking about, one of the reporters reached out to me, and I reached out to some of the men that I know that weren't clients, but that could be on air. And that young man is someone that I know, that I've known for a number of years. And then in that same segment, right, they reached out to Dr. Argie to comment, right? So there's all these ways that sometimes we are supporting stories, even if we're not on air, right? There's a way that we can provide resources and support to all those that are out there. And even if it is just to flesh out a story, we're more than willing to do that. I know that Dr. Argie has done that, and I'm more than willing to do that. And in terms of PTSD, I think it's a word that we use often in terms of trauma, but I don't think that we've always done the due diligence to recognize that there's so much trauma that we've experienced, sometimes growing up, sometimes in a car accident, sometimes in a relationship. In lots of these ways, we've experienced trauma. And PTSD does not mean trauma. Right. Well, if you're experiencing PTSD, you've experienced trauma. But if you experience trauma, doesn't mean you're experiencing PTSD. But what the foundation is that you're experiencing something that is overwhelming and that is tough, that is interfering with your dreams or your day-to-day living, or even just how you function. And it's important that you get support and you get help. And one of the biggest things that we've been talking about is the impact of racial trauma. What's it like to show up to work and you're being asked to show your credentials, even though you've worked there for years? What's it like to be on the street and have police follow you and your heart rate increase? These are all parts of racial trauma that we experience. And it is important to get help and support and to talk to someone about some of these things.
Thank you. Dr. Argie, did you want to chime in?
Yeah.
Okay.
definitely underscore everything that Dr. James said, with regards to all the trauma. I think that specifically in the Black and Brown community, oftentimes we use the word resilient in a way that suggests that somehow we are invincible, that we, we've come through so much, 402 years now of systemic racism, going into our third year of COVID. I talk about the two viruses, right? So we have COVID-19 as a virus, a physical virus, but then we also have racism as a manifestation of this ideology that suggests that somehow if you are a different hue, then somehow you are not a human. You were 3/5 of a human. It's still in the Constitution, for goodness sake. So we have been dealing with this racial trauma for so far too long. And oftentimes we will tell ourselves we're strong, we're resilient, we're invincible. We don't have to deal with these other issues that are mental health issues. But here's the truth, and Dr. James is correct. Just because you experience trauma doesn't mean necessarily that you have a disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, but it does elevate the potential and the possibility of you having this as an impact going through all of these things. And I call it now continual traumatic stress disorder, because at the point where you can't walk down the street and you're getting pulled over for driving while Black, or golfing while Black, or drinking coffee while Black, or socializing, and I'm talking for Black and Brown and sometimes Indigenous people, then that trauma is invasive, and it is pervasive. And so what do we do about that? I would say we have the courageous conversation with ourselves to ask ourselves, how is this impacting ourselves? And be honest with ourselves if we're having difficulty, because it is okay to say, I'm not okay, right? And then once we're honest with ourselves, then we may need to have the courageous conversation with someone else, which is to ask for help. Because it's also okay to say, not only am I not okay, but I need help, right? And go to the people, as Dr. James says, you're the average of the 5 people in your community, your squad. Who are your squad? Who are those people that can say, like, I'm partnering with you on this health and wellness journey? How can we move into making sure that you get the help that you need, which may be a spiritual advisor? If you're a believer, it may be a therapist. It could be a life coach. It could be somebody whose interest is solely to get you to a better place of health and wellness at whatever capacity you want to be. That's really the goal. And what's good about this time and place is more of us are talking about therapy and mental wellness more than ever before. I love that trend. I hope that it continues. And I would also say, and I think Dr. James would agree, now we need more people in the field, because therapists are pretty overwhelmed these days with seeing everyone. So it's a good problem to have, but we got to also lean into the next generation of clinicians that are going to continue to do this work so that we can meet the need.
I'm so glad you said that. Excellent segue to a question I have in the chat here. Dr. Argie or Dr. James, but I would like for both of you to answer it. Can you provide tips on what to consider when choosing a mental health therapist? So who wants to go first with that question? Dr. James, you want to start?
Oh, I thought it was, I was balancing out, either one. So I thought it was Dr. Argie's turn. I can go, fine. When I think about it, it really, one of these experiences, I was doing some work with, a top Fortune 50 company, and I was with some Black men in this company, and it was about 12 Black men that were there. Somehow we got to this conversation about how many people are either in therapy or have been to therapy. And 10 of the 12 said that they were in therapy or previously in therapy. And the other 2, because of that, said, you know what, I'm leaving this experience and I'm going to go see and find a therapist. And I share that because when I first started 19 plus years ago, that was not the case, right? So we are seeing more people who are trying to say, I need to find a therapist and I need to figure out how it is. one of the things you can do is reach out to the people that are around you and ask them, do you know a good therapist? Because now more than ever, somebody either knows a therapist or have heard a therapist. And the blessing of what Dr. Argie and I have been able to do is that you're also seeing therapists like ourselves on TV, on the radio, on podcasts. So there's a way that you can at least reach out. I have lots of people that reach out to me that I might not be able to work with, but I've been able to refer them. So you can get options, good options from those who are around you or from a resource. Psychology Today is always good. The place that I work at is Counsel for Relationships. That's always good. But there's a way to reach out, and then you have to then do your own kind of connection to see what's a good fit. And I'll let Dr. Argie talk more about that because I know that she has a lot to offer there.
Awesome. I'm going to start right where you left off, Dr. James. Good fit, because we are seeing an uptick, and this is great. But every therapist is not the best fit for every client, and vice versa, right? So I do believe you as a consumer have to do your due diligence. Once you do, like Dr. George says, which is ask some friends or family, who are they using? That's a great starting point. So look into Psychology Today or look at some of the major mental health facilities within the city that you live in, and now there's online as well. Those are really great starting fits. But then once you whittle it down, I suggest that you whittle it down to perhaps 3 options, and then ask for a 20-minute free consultation to get to know whether or not that person is a good fit for you and whether you're a good fit for them. There could be some barriers, right? Finances can be a barrier because therapy in private practice can be quite expensive. It's an out-of-pocket, sometimes expense. And so there are clinicians that don't accept, they're not on insurance panels. So that could be a barrier. Hours could be a barrier too. If you work during the day and you only need nighttime sessions, the one thing you will need to be considering is that it's not exactly like going to the dentist where you go twice a year. Once you commit to doing this process, then you're going to be either going weekly, you may be bi-weekly or bi-monthly, until you get to the place where you've accomplished the goals you want to accomplish, and then it might, go down to monthly or even quarterly. So in the very beginning, there's an uptick and it's quite a commitment. You want to make sure that that person can accommodate you on a regular basis until you get your issues addressed. And the last thing that I would say is that once you decide on this is the right therapist for me, and it's okay to ask your therapist questions or the potential therapist. For example, what their belief systems are. People ask me all the time, are you a Christian therapist? And what I say in transparency is I am a relationship therapist that is also a Christian. And so if you want me to infuse those Christian principles, I am able to do that. That doesn't mean that I don't see clients that are of different faiths, because I actually do. I tap into whatever the resource is for the client. And if they are of a different faith, then I'm going to use that as their resource to help them on their healing journey. So there are a lot of things to consider when you're thinking about a therapist, but the one thing I want people to understand is that they shouldn't stop. Just like if you needed support in any other way, you wouldn't stop till you or your child or whomever it is had that support. Ask your team, use your resources, and make sure that you don't stop until you get the right fit. Even if that means that you don't have a lot of finances. There are programs like universities, for example, that have clinics where you actually can go to therapy and not pay a dime, because the payment is that the student is being trained by professionals like Dr. James and I, and you get to go see that student who is developing themselves, and you don't have to pay much of a fee. So there are lots of different options that I want people to take into consideration. I think we lost Darn's picture.
What happened? Yes.
I hope that was helpful.
That was very helpful. Both of you, thank you so much for that. And just asking, because of both of you are therapists here, and I want to definitely encourage everyone to consider both of you. Now, in terms of, I know it used to be past 3 years ago, you see your therapist in person. Now, do you both do it online as well, virtual counseling? Okay, good to know, just in case someone had that question and didn't ask it. So All right, so we're going to wrap this piece up. But before we do, because I want to remind everyone before I give closing remarks here, we're going to have, as Dr. Argie mentioned and Dr. James mentioned, we definitely want to keep in mind the diet side, exercise side. I want to remind everyone to stay with us. We have Leroy Mapp joining us shortly. He's listening in. He's a fitness instructor and founder of Gorilla Power, LLC, a Black-owned wellness brand. And he's available for sessions. He does personal one-on-one sessions, group sessions. We want to make sure we take care of our body. And I want to ask Dr. Argie, she's going to do something with us, but I want to ask us, Dr. Argie and Dr. James, any closing remarks you want to give, or I should say, just to give it more a pointed part. Tell us one word that can sum up just something that would empower us when we talk about this mental health space. Give us one word or a couple of words. I know that's kind of hard. Maybe one word or a couple words to condense it that you can leave us with. Dr. Argie.
So it's hard to say one word, but
I know.
I will say that healing comes to mind. And in order to, this is not one word, but this is a phrase. In order to heal, we have to feel, but we cannot heal what we don't reveal. And so once we begin to reveal, then we can deal with what's real. Those are all a play on words because they all rhyme. Heal, feel, reveal, deal, and real. I say it that way so people can remember that our feelings matter. And oftentimes we don't, if we don't talk it out, walk it out, draw it out, work it out, then those emotions stay on the inside of us. And toxic emotions can be detrimental to our health and well-being. And so this is my prayer and my offering for us to tap into our feelings. We should not be afraid of them, but then we've got to put in the work to understand them and move to a healthier place of healing that then elevates us to a higher version of ourselves. That was not one word. I know that was.
Oh, no. That was perfect. That was perfect. So Dr. James, same thing. You're not limited to one word.
Two people for one word.
Oh, no. Bad joke. But yeah, please give us a phrase, definitely.
As you can say, we got words. I think there was a comment actually asking you, Dr. Argie, to repeat. So I'll let you do that before I go.
Sorry about that. So, okay. The 5 words are heal, feel, reveal, deal, and real. So in order to heal, we have to feel, but we cannot heal what we don't reveal. Once we reveal it, we can deal with what's real. That's the phrase. I'll put it in the chat while Dr. James is talking.
Thank you.
And a phrase I will share is based off of a workshop that I've been doing. And it's, I give myself permission. And it starts there, that there's so many times where we don't practice self-care, we don't go to therapy, we don't change our job, we don't change our diet because we're not giving ourselves permission for whatever reason. Well, that's what my family always does, or my family is hard workers, or we don't believe in therapy. These are all these things and beliefs that we have. But it starts with being able to say to yourself, I give myself permission. And if you were to put the two things together, I give myself permission to heal. And then you go down the journey with what Dr. Argie just said. But it starts with making that commitment. You showing up here today, you listening to what we've said, the resources, you showing up for the mental health check-in part 2 is about giving yourself permission.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Argie and Dr. James. As Dr. James just mentioned, that's a good way for me to continue. We're going to have a part 2. So I know some of you have some other questions that you'll have, or as you go through life between now and April. April 6th is the date. And definitely looking forward to that. Dr. James, please stay with us. Don't leave yet. I want to ask Dr. Argie to do some meditation, everyone. So keep in mind, we discussed quite a bit, everyone, but we want everyone to be intentional on all the words that we've shared, all the 5. We have a magic 5 from both Dr. James and Dr. Argie. We want you to be intentional and take the time and give yourself permission to relax, to heal, to release. I'm adding some words too. So that we'll give you permission. So that's Teresa's going to cue up something for us with our meditation piece. Thank you, everyone. Stay with us. We're not leaving.
So I'm going to ask for everyone to sit straight up. You can, wherever you're located. Arch your back, if you can. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Don't look at me. But just listen to the words and listen to the music. I'm going to ask you to take your arms and stretch them over your head. And then I'm going to ask you to wave your arms back and forth with a stretch like you're waving at someone in the distance on the beach. Cross your arms all the way over your head and then stretch them out like you're waving to an old friend that you haven't seen in a while. Good. Then I'm going to ask you to take your hands and gradually put your hands in a prayer position. Perhaps right underneath your chin, where you can feel comfortable and where you can be connected with your self, mind, body, and spirit. And I'm now going to ask you to turn your attention to your breathing. Many of us breathe very shallow. We don't allow the breath to come into our bodies fully. And as a result, we deprive our lungs, our essential organs from oxygen that it needs to thrive. And so at the sound of my voice, as you listen to the waves, I'm going to ask you, when I count to 3, to breathe in through your nose and hold it for 5 seconds, and then out through your mouth. We're going to do that 5 times to get oxygen into our bodies. And I'm going to go along with you. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. Hold it. And out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose. Big breath. Hold it. And out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose. Big breath. Hold it. And out through your mouth. 2 more times. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. And out through your mouth. 1 last time. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. Big breath. And out through your mouth. Now, as we think about our relaxing station in life, now that you've gotten good oxygen into your body, I want you to pay attention to your heart rate. I want you to be paying attention to your breath. And I want you to turn your attention to a calm place. It could be the beach, if you love sand and water. It could be a picnic in the park with your loved one or your children. It could be a stroll downtown. It could be a bike ride. It could be somewhere just watching nature, watching the birds and a live stream. Wherever your happy place is, I want you to turn your attention to that happy place. And I want you to begin to think about all the positive attributes that are aligned with you as the spiritual being having a human experience. And I want you to listen to the words that I speak and deposit them into your heart and into your mind and into your body. As I sit here meditating on all things that are just and good and pure and simple, I am reminded that I am powerful beyond measure, that greatness resides inside of me, that I can do anything but fail, because the pure act of trying is the act of pursuit, of pleasure, of serenity, of peace, and of joy. As I sit here, I am committed to choosing joy in my life. And no matter what the obstacles, I will lean into positive energy that attracts everything good in my life. I will lean into positive energy that attracts everything just in my life. I will lean into positive energy that attracts significance, success, serenity, stability, structure, and security in my life. And whatever it is that I am designed to do and be, I am believing that I am destined to achieve it. And therefore, I am destined to receive it. And any obstacle that stands in the way, I am powerful enough to grow through that obstacle to the other side, where there is light and love at the end of that tunnel that will take me to the next chapter. Because I believe that I am designed to write all the chapters in my life with the beauty and the wonder and the vigor and the excitement that was designed for me. for this time on the planet. And lastly, I will go forth after this meditation to lean into my dash as a writer, as a PR person, as a relationship therapist, as an author, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a mother and a father, and as a sister and a daughter, as a good human being, as an amazing friend, as someone who will make an impact on this world. I will go into the next hours, days, months, years, living out my dash with power, with provision, and with purpose as I live in peace. This concludes your meditation. I ask that you open your eyes. I ask that you take your hands and you put them on top of your head. I ask that you wiggle your hands to loosen you up. And I ask that you move your head from side to side and take a full circle, moving your head around. And let that loose energy 3 times depart from your body. And as you open your eyes, and as this meditation comes to an end, my prayer is that you turn your attention to all that we've discussed today, and that you lean into the best, highest version of yourself with elevated mental health and wellness. I thank you. Be blessed.
Thank you. This is amazing, beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Argie.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. Everyone, we would love to hear from you in the chat. I know that everyone is feeling like I'm feeling amazing. I wanted to end. See, Dr. James, that's why I wanted you to stay. I wanted to stay to thank you both together, to thank you both for your time. Yes, there you are. No, I'm saying that's why I wanted you to stay, definitely, to thank you properly for your time today. I know I speak on behalf of not just myself, I speak on behalf of everyone on the call today, on behalf of PABJ. It's been amazing. It's been a true blessing to have you both here. And we hope that we can have you to come back with us and future collaborations that we can speak about more offline. And I can definitely say with both Athea and Teresa as board members on the call, we definitely can look at some other ways that we can definitely make this more a fruitful experience for our members, because we need you both. We definitely need you. And the fact that everyone is here, it shows that we need you. And the folks that will see the replay of all of this will be great. So thank you so much. Yes. So everyone, as I promised, we have a fun workout. And I thank, as I thank Dr. James and Dr. Argie, I thank all of you for being with us today. On our screen there, we want you to all save the date. We have some great events coming up. Our very next one is another virtual celebration for Women's History Month, March 12th. Please take a note of these dates. If you missed them when we switched the screen, they're on our website, and we'll definitely, between all of us on the call, our PR council and our board members will be posting it via social media. Our general membership meeting, March 15th, and we have a luncheon on May 20th. And as I mentioned these dates, everyone, please share in the chat, please share on social media, please share with our president and our board if you want to see more programs like this. Even though I mentioned part 2, it never ends. We all need mental wellness. We all need health and wellness. So please let us know in the chat if you need what you need more of. We want to be able to serve you best as PABJ members. We're a family. Without further ado, we have a fun workout. Please stay with us. It's a quick workout. So we got relax, our meditation, get us in the mood for the rest of our work day. And if you haven't moved today, we have some fun movement, again, by Leroy Mapp, founder of Gorilla Power LLC.
How's everybody doing?
There he is. Hey, Leroy.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Great. Thumbs
up. Everyone. Good to see everyone.
Thank you. It's on you.
Okay, cool. So, how's everybody? My name is Leroy. I'm a trainer here at Philadelphia. Group fitness training. Been doing it for some years, and just this wonderful event up. It was excellent. Everyone had excellent points. The meditation almost had me in little tears. You know what I'm saying? I was almost ready to cry on that meditation. So that was awesome. But we're just gonna keep it nice. Simple movements, but to get your cardio up, get your heart beating, and get you burning some calories for a little bit. So if you have some space in your home, wherever you are, just make sure you clear a nice area. You don't have to have any shoes, anything, but if you're on a hard surface, definitely have some shoes. Everyone can hear me, right? Thumbs up, everybody can hear me? Good. Everybody can hear me, cool. So, all right. So I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna kind of project a little bit so you can see my full movements. But we're going to start it off just with some squats, some body weight squats. You don't need any equipment. And we're going to get this thing started. Hold on a second. I'm going to start my music just to get me going in the back. All right, everyone, back it up. So when you do a squat, you need to be feet shoulder length apart. And we're going to do this about 20, 30 seconds. We start in 3, 2, 1. Everybody squat down, come up. That's what we're gonna do. There we go. I see some beautiful faces. I see some squats. I love it. There we go. All right. Taking our time. This is getting nice and loose. Our next exercise, we're gonna go into alternating back lunges. Again, this is all body weight. So just drop your back knee nice and low. 3, 2, 1. I want you to alternate your leg. Drop it back. There we go. There we go. Nice and low. Keep it up. We're going to go back to the squats in about 10 seconds. So when I say go, we go back to the squats, but we're going to add a pulse at the bottom. So it's coming in 3, 2, 1. Back to the squats. Pulse, pulse. Come up. Pulse, pulse, come up. Yes. Back to the squat. There we go. Nice double pulse at the bottom. Excellent. Now you should feel a little like you're going right now. Feeling good. So what we're going to do next is called a fast feet drill. You're going to chop your feet nice and low, and you're going to stay in place. In 3, 2, 1, chop your feet. So as I lift them, there we go. Just keep your hands nice. Excellent. Excellent. Keep going nice and fast. Come on. Burn it. Shake it. There we go. We got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, time. That's the first round. How's everybody feeling? Everybody feeling good? Go around. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to keep going, right? We got another round. Another round. We finish on the floor. We're going to be out of here. So we're going to start off with our back lunges again. This time we're going to add a twist. So if I step back with my right knee, I twist with my body. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, go. Step back, twist it up. Step back, keep your elbows out, twist it up. Twist it up, good. I see it. I love it. There we go, keep going. I love it. There we go, keep going. Keep it going, about 15 more seconds. Keep it going, about 15 more seconds. Keep it going. Now this time we're gonna hold a squat and you're gonna step 3 steps, small steps to the left and right. We doing 3, 2, 1. I step 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go. This is what I want to see. Nice and low. Good. I see some work. I love it. Keep going. 15 more seconds. Everybody keep going. Keep stepping. Keep your chest nice and proud. Keep your butt nice and back. There we go. Now we're going to change it. Instead of going side to side, we're going to go front to back. 3, 2, 1. We go front, stand up, squat down, go back. Good. 3 steps forward, stand up, stand back, go back. Come on. Now you should start to feel the fire in your legs. Stand up, stand back. Here comes that fast feet, everybody. Fast feet for 20 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go. Chop it. Chop it. There we go. Good. Good. Chop it. Nice and fast. Chop it. Chop it. 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. Stay on it. 4, 3, 2, time. Woo! Woo! We've got one more thing to do.
Okay.
All right, one more thing to do. That's going to put the icing on the cake. All right, let's put this icing on this cake, y'all. So first thing, hope you got enough room or space. You're just going to go high plank position. I want to get some cool work. So this was going to look like. Can everybody see me? Everybody see me? Thumbs up. You're going to hold this position right here. High plank, shoulder stacked over the wrist, and you're going to hold it here. So everybody get down, high plank right here. Hold it nice and low. Right on all fours if you can. Right on all fours if you can. Hold it right here, core tight. There we go. High plank. Hold that high plank. We're going to sit on our bottoms next. In 3, 2, 1. Everyone sit on your bottoms. And I want you to give me what's called a Russian twist. Turn your body left and right. Take a look. I'm turning left, right, left. Your feet can get off the ground, or you can have your heels on the ground and work the obliques. Turn it. Turn it. Turn it. 15 more seconds of Russian twist. Right here. 10 more seconds. We're going to hold a boat hold. Your legs come up, your hands go high. In 3, 2, 1. Everyone try to hold a position like a V position with your hands up and your feet off the ground. We hold it here. 15 seconds. Keep going. 8 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time it out. Time it out.
All right.
How's everybody?
Woo, we're still
That's
live.
it right there. That's right into it, right into the bulk of the work right there.
Amazing. Thank you. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. Thanks for everybody that stayed on. I appreciate it. Everybody that stayed on and worked out with me for my time that I had. I appreciate it a lot.
Yes, thank you. You made awesome use of your time. I feel great.
That's good. That's what it's about. It's
Yes.
about feeling that sweat and feeling good. That's all it is
Definitely,
about.
definitely. I had people that said energized, and that was excellent. I agree. Awesome. So we have to get you definitely in person.
Yeah, most definitely. That's most definitely. That's in the future to come.
Yes. And we definitely have to invite you back. We have a part 2 of our check-in, and it's April 6th. So we'll have to get you to save the date, and so we can have you come again.
I am right here for you. Just let me know.
We'll be even more prepared for you.
Awesome.
Yes. I want to ask. I want to ask Leroy. Are you near? Are you able to type in the chat your information?
Yes, I'll type in my information right now.
Perfect. We want folks to as we're all energized, we want to make sure that folks get to see you before April 6th. So again, I thank you, Leroy. I thank you, Dr. Argie, Dr. James, everyone on the call. We have a sponsor, and I want to ask Cheryl, one of our longtime PABJ and NABJ members. She'll share some brief remarks on behalf of our sponsor, and we're looking forward to doing more events like this with sponsors like hers and future sponsors.
Hold on one second. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody. I'm sending my information right now.
Perfect. And Cheryl, you can come off of mute.
I know. I'm like all talking. I'm trying to thank Leroy, and it wasn't working. Thank you so much. You go ahead and type in what you need to type in. But I just wanted to first extend our thanks to today's event sponsor, Envision Well. Full disclosure, my client, Envision Well, is a Black woman-owned and led health and wellness digital company headquartered in Westchester. CEO Tammy Williams is offering every single one of today's attendees a free 1-year trial of the company's soon-to-be-released premium level of its signature product, health and wellness mobile app, Envision Well. The free version is already available for Android and iOS, so Tammy encourages you to download it now. Tammy also wants you to know Envision Well syncs with as many as 400 devices, eliminating the need for separate apps for individual wellness, fitness, health, and other life factors that affect our health outcomes. So I'll be putting instructions on how to get a special premium promo code in the chat. But in the meantime, thank you so much to Envision Well for offering us all a path to total health and well-being. So thank you again. And I'm going to add the information in the chat. In just 1 second. Okay.
And Dr. James, can you please share your social media handle as well? If you're on your Twitter or your Instagram, or the way you like to be contacted?
Definitely.
Yes, thank you. Thanks so much, everyone. This has been a wonderful day. I hope that everyone got as much out of it as I did. We had a action-packed afternoon. This has been wonderful. We should be definitely feeling well.
Yes.
Restored. Yes. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing all the positive notes in the chat. Again, everyone, if you want to see more of this, we have to know. So let our leadership know. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, blessed day, everyone. Thanks again. Over and over.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. It's been fun, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Dawn.
My PABJ members and NABJ members and my health new friends are coming aboard. I really appreciate